As you know, Brexit did not happen immediately after the Brexit referendum in 2016. There were exhausting negotiations between the UK and the EU, first about the exit of the UK and then about the future relationship between the EU and the UK. After the official Brexit on January 31st in 2020, where the UK officially left the EU and with it the Parliament, there was a transitional period until December 31st in 2020 to implement a new relationship. And there are some longer transitional periods for some areas like euro clearing and stuff, but this was the main one. And people are talking a lot about the level of preparation for Brexit and that on different sides, or at least on one side, the lack of. So in a few of my videos, I already am giving you an overview about the extent of preparations by different countries involved, and of course the UK and the EU. The UK video is already there. And today I will tell you about the preparations in the Netherlands. Before the end of the transition period on December 31st in 2020, the Netherlands, like other EU member states, made extensive preparations to deal with the implications of Brexit. These preparations aim to minimize the potential disruptions to trade, but also to travel in other areas that could arise due to the United Kingdom's departure from the European Union. And of course, I also have some key aspects of the Brexit preparations in the Netherlands for you today. The Dutch government prepared for changes in customs procedures and border controls. They established new infrastructure at ports, hired additional customs officials, and implemented digital systems to handle increased customs declarations. And businesses were encouraged to obtain an economic operators registration and identification number, so-called EORI, and familiarize themselves with new customs procedures to continue trading with the UK smoothly. The Netherlands adapted its regulations and standards to account for the UK's departure from the EU. It reviewed and revised various laws to address areas such as product certifications, market access, and conformity assessments. And this ensured that Dutch businesses could continue to comply with EU regulations and standards in the absence of UK alignment. And Amsterdam, as a major European financial hub, sought to attract businesses relocating from London, and that successfully. Dutch authorities worked to create an attractive environment for financial institutions and promote the seamless transition of operations, including establishing regulatory frameworks and providing information on licensing and authorization procedures. The Dutch government took steps to ensure the continuity of transport and logistic operations between the Netherlands and the UK. And this involved updating information systems, coordinating with transport companies, and implementing measures to prevent delays and congestion at ports and airports. And the Netherlands focused on safeguarding the rights of UK citizens living in the country and Dutch citizens residing in the UK. Authorities provided information to these individuals about their residency rights, their work permits, healthcare, and other relevant issues to ensure a smooth transition. And the Dutch government launched various campaigns and provided information resources to businesses, but also to citizens and other stakeholders. Websites, helplines, and dedicated Brexit desks were established to address questions or offer guidance and disseminate the latest updates related to Brexit preparations. And the Dutch government provided support and information to businesses, particularly those engaged in trade with the UK. This included organizing seminars, workshops, and training sessions to help companies understand the potential impact of Brexit on their operations. They also offered guidance on customs procedures, VAT changes, and regulatory requirements. The Netherlands are a significant exporter of agricultural and fisheries products to the UK. To mitigate disruptions, the Dutch government worked closely with these sectors to address regulatory changes, export requirements, and logistic challenges. They provided guidance on sanitary and phytosanitary rules, export certifications, and market access conditions. And the Netherlands collaborated with the other EU member states and the UK counterparts to ensure continued security cooperation after Brexit. This involved information sharing, joint operations, and agreements to maintain close ties in areas such as counterterrorism, law enforcement, and judicial cooperation. And the Dutch government took steps to ensure the continuity of healthcare services for UK citizens living in the Netherlands and, of course, Dutch citizens residing in the UK. They communicated the necessary steps for accessing healthcare, such as registering for health insurance and understanding reciprocal agreements between the countries. And the Netherlands collaborated with UK institutions and organizations in the research and education sectors to mitigate the impact of Brexit. They sought to maintain academic partnerships, facilitate student and staff exchanges, and ensure continued participation in EU-funded research programs, and that we are still discussing for the UK at the moment. The Dutch government launched communication campaigns to raise public awareness about the implications of Brexit as well. They provided information through various channels, including dedicated websites, social media, but also public events. And the aim was to keep citizens informed about the potential changes and how they could be affected. While the UK officially left the EU on January 31st in 2020, the transition period provided temporary continuity of EU membership until December 31st in 2020. And during this time, the Netherlands, along with other EU member states, negotiated the future relationship with the UK, covering areas such as trade, security, and cooperation. And there are some of the main steps taken by the Netherlands to prepare for Brexit before the end of the transition period I mentioned in this video today. And before the end of the transition period on December 31st in 2020, Brexit preparations were considered highly important, and that for all affected countries, both within the European Union and the United Kingdom. The transition period began after the UK officially left the EU on January 1st to 1st in 2020, and it allowed time for both parties to negotiate their future relationship and make necessary arrangements. And some did that to a bigger extent and some didn't, and that affected their life after Brexit, of course, as well. But the Netherlands were one of the countries that did tons of preparations, and that is kind of what I expected from our neighbor, and it's a very close neighbor from where I'm living. So dank u wel for your preparations, and I'll see you in my next video. Dag.